Changes are coming to Regent Street, the busy and popular street for students, businesses, and community members, young and old, hopes to cater to its patrons.
The city is holding a public meeting tomorrow to present a plan to the Transportation Commission, hoping to move this process along.
WMTV's Ashley Wheel met with the engineering team and business owners on Regent to learn more about where the project stands.
That's right. The last time the city held a meeting showcasing their plan to reconstruct the street, there were some concerns. But now businesses and community members are ready to support the city's plan.
We could not be happier with the plan that the city is presenting to us.
Making Regent Street safer and a place for businesses to thrive.
I have just always loved Regent Street. There's a wonderful combination of vitality here.
Sam Brown owns multiple businesses set on Regent Street.
Well, I've been working on Regent Street since I was 14, cleaning tables at my father's pizzeria.
And agrees the street needs an update.
I've seen way too many heartbreaking injuries right here at the Orchard Street intersection, just doing business right here, that I'm really looking forward to safer intersections that will allow pedestrians to cross.
Safety has been a high point of concern as the city plans for reconstruction.
The priorities that we've heard were pedestrian access. The sidewalks here are really narrow. There's a lot of businesses that are accessed by pedestrians.
Something that was addressed in the January proposal, but concerns about parking and bike access remain.
In the January model, there were only going to be 17 parking spots from Randall all the way to Park Street. Currently, there are about 47 spots.
So the design team went back to work.
It's the most extensive planning process that I've been in regarding a project here at the city.
Making a new plan to keep most of the current parking spots while still widening sidewalks and improving traffic flow.
We hope that the public takes away that we are listening and will continue to listen as we get into the construction process.
It's been really exciting to work with them and to arrive at something that I think serves everyone on the street.
After tomorrow's meeting, the Transportation Commission has an opportunity to give feedback before submitting the plan for formal approval. Then they can start the engineering process of how they'll go about executing the plan. They hope to start construction in 2027 or 28. Live in studio, Ashley Wheel, WMTV 15 News.
Ashley, thank you. The community is welcome to register and attend the meeting tomorrow.